Most people think New York City is Manhattan. They picture giant buildings, taxi honking, people running with coffee cups, Wall Street traders yelling into phones, Broadway lights, and helicopters. That's the version of New York the world sees. The one in the movies, the one on postcards, the one tourists come to photograph. But here's the strange thing. Most New Yorkers don't actually live there. Manhattan is the stage. But the real city lives somewhere else. And if you want to understand how New York really works, you have to leave the bright lights and come out here. Queens. A place most visitors never bother to see. And when they do, many of them think they made a mistake. Because at first glance, it looks almost ordinary. No giant towers, no crowds of tourists, no flashy lights. Because at first glance, it looks almost ordinary. No giant towers, no crowds of tourists, and no flashing lights. A few people walking by without paying attention to anything. If you didn't know where you were, you might think this was a random neighborhood in New Jersey or somewhere outside of Chicago. That's exactly why this place is interesting. Because what you see here is not the full story. Not even close. These quiet streets hide something most people have no idea about. Elmhurst sits inside one of the most unusual places on the entire planet. Not the United States. The planet. A place where the whole world quietly collided. Where hundreds of languages are spoken within a few blocks. Where people from every continent ended up living side by side. Where entire cultures exist just one street apart. And yet, almost nobody outside New York ever talks about it. Tourists fly across the ocean to see Manhattan. They stand in line to go to the top of the buildings. And they take photos in Times Square. Then they leave the city without ever realizing that one of the most fascinating places in America was just 15 minutes away on the subway. Right here. In neighborhoods that look completely normal. Like this one. Because Queens doesn't advertise itself. It doesn't try to impress you. It doesn't scream for attention. It just exists quietly. But behind these calm streets is a strange and powerful truth about New York. The skyline might be in Manhattan, but the real engine of the city is here. But what people don't understand is that this neighborhood has one of the most unusual histories in the United States. Because of the story of Elmhurst is the story of how the world moved into New York. 100 years ago, this place looks very different. But what people don't understand is that this neighborhood has one of the most unusual histories in the United States. Because the story of Elmhurst is the story of how the world moved into New York City. 100 years ago, this place looked very different. Most of Queens was farmland, actual farms, cows, vegetables, and dirt roads. Manhattan was already a giant city, but out here it felt like a rural town. Then something happened that changed everything. The subway arrived. In the early 1900s, the subway lines started connecting Queens to Manhattan. And suddenly, people could live here and reach Manhattan in less than 30 minutes. And that changed the destiny of this place forever. Because once transportation arrives, cities grow, and Queens started growing fast. Back then, the first big wave of people coming here were Europeans, Irish families, Italian families, Jewish families coming from Eastern Europe. Many of them were escaping poverty, wars, or political problems. And when they arrived in New York, Manhattan was already crowded and expensive. So they moved here. Queens became the place where working families could start a new life. They bought small houses, They open bakeries, they open butcher shops, they open small grocery stores, and they raise children here. And little by little, neighborhoods like Elmhurst became full of immigrant stories. But that was just the beginning, because the real transformation came later. In the 1960s, the United States changed its immigration laws. For decades, immigration had been very limited. Then suddenly, the doors opened, and something remarkable happened. People from all over the world began arriving. Latin America, China, Korea, India, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Nepal, Colombia, Mexico, Ecuador, Thailand. Every year, new families arrived in Queens, and many of them settled here in Elmhurst. Today, Queens is often described as the most diverse place on earth, not just in the United States, on earth. More than 160 languages are spoken in this borough. Think about that, 160 languages. That means if you walk down one on the street, you might hear Spanish, Mandarin, Bengali, Korean, Russian, and English within a few miles. There are places in Queens where almost every restaurant on the block comes from a different country. One door might be Thai, next door Colombia, next door Chinese, next door Mexican. It's like traveling across the world without leaving the neighborhood. Elmhurst, in particular, is famous for something many people don't know. Some food critics say that this neighborhood might have the greatest variety of food in America. Within a few blocks, you can eat dishes from dozens of countries. Nepalese dumplings, Thai noodle soups, Colombian bakeries, and Mexican tacos. Food here tells the story of migration. Every restaurant represents someone who came here and tried to build a life. But there's another story here that most people never hear. During the COVID pandemic, Elmhurst suddenly became known across the country. Elmhurst Hospital became one of the epicenters of the crisis. Doctors and nurses were overwhelmed. Ambulances lined up outside. For weeks, this neighborhood was in the national news. And it revealed something important about Queens. The people here were essential workers, nurses, delivery drivers, construction workers, and restaurant workers. People who kept the city running while everyone stayed home. Elmhurst showed the country what Queens really is. Hard-working people from everywhere, holding the city together. And yet, when you walk through the streets like this, it still feels quiet. That strange beauty of Queens. From the outside, it looks calm, almost sleepy. But behind every door, there's a story of someone who traveled thousands of miles to get here. Someone who left their home country. Someone who started from nothing. Someone who is trying to build something better for their kids. There's another thing people don't realize. Many famous New Yorkers come from Queens. Donald Trump grew up in Queens. The rapper Nas grew up in Queens. Nicki Minaj, 50 Cent, Ray Romano. Many artists, athletes, actors, and entrepreneurs. Queens has produced an incredible number of influential people. Why? Because when you grow up in a place where the whole world lives around you, it changes how you see things. You grow up hearing different languages, eating different foods, meeting people from different cultures. It expands your mind. Queens also has something that Manhattan lost a long time ago: community. Neighbors still know each other, and people sit outside in the summer. Kids play basketball on the street, and shop owners remember your name. People greet each other when they walk by. It feels human. In Manhattan, everything moves fast. In Queens, life slows down a little. And maybe that's why so many immigrants choose Queens, because it gives them something rare: opportunity, but also stability. You can work in Manhattan, but come home to a quieter place. You can build a family, you can start a business, and you can slowly build a future. If you walk through Elmhurst long enough, you start noticing something. Almost every person you pass is carrying a different story. Maybe someone came from Ecuador 20 years ago. Maybe someone arrived from China 5 years ago. Maybe someone grew up here and now works in Manhattan. Or maybe someone is studying to become a doctor. You're walking through thousands of personal journeys at the same time. And none of them look dramatic from the outside. But together they form something incredible. That's the part people don't understand about Queens. There are no giant skyscrapers here, no huge tourist attractions, no flashy lights, but Queens might be the closest thing to a living map of the world. All these cultures, languages, foods, and stories packed into one bar. Quiet streets like this, normal houses, parked cars, but behind that normal life is something extraordinary. The entire world living side by side. And that's why when people say New York is just Manhattan, they're missing the real story. The skyline may be famous, but the heart of the city is here, in neighborhoods like Elmhurst. When people from every corner of the planet arrive with hope, work hard, and slowly build a life, one block at a time.